See yourself, right? It's a polished or smooth surface as of glass that forms an image or images by reflection. Something that gives a true representation. So, how many ever, when you were younger, let's go to your teen years, ever got ready to go somewhere and you looked in the mirror and you thought, man, you look good. Anybody ever do that? Buster? Buster did, right? Go up, look in that mirror. My mom, the bathroom I had, the whole wall was one mirror. So I'd get all ready, and before I went out the door, I'd get ready to turn the light off, and I'd look back and I'd say, the women ought to kill themselves over you. It didn't happen that way, but that's what my thought was. And you get a little older, and you look in the mirror and you make up songs. You look in the mirror and you look at it and then you go, they tell me I'm good looking. I sure have to agree. Because there is no one in Seminole as handsome as me. My exchange students can sing that word for word. And sometimes you can look in the mirror and I'll go, self, I can't wait till tomorrow. And self will look at me and say, why is that, David? You'll say, because you get better looking every day. And you look, but it gives a reflection of what you are, but it's on the outside, right? So you can look at it when you're younger and you can see if you got pimples. You can take care of the pimples. You can see if your makeup is wrong. I used to tell Lisa, I said, how many times did you ever look in the mirror at yourself and think, boy, you sure are pretty? She said, I never did, because she said I didn't think I was pretty. Aww. I said, you crazy woman. Why would I go out with you? We're pretty, but she said I didn't have any self-confidence. But yet we look in the mirror and it's a reflection of what we are now. As I have got older, I walk in, matter of fact, I walked in the other day, looked in the mirror and I thought, holy cow, who is that? Yeah, I looked like I was driving in my car one day and I looked up in the rearview mirror. This is an eye-opening experience. I'm driving and I look in the rearview mirror and I look behind, and so I can only see from this far up. And I promise you, I thought, hi, Dad. Because from here up, I'm a spitting image of my dad. Now that was eye-opening because I used to have more hair than him. And the kids tell me one day, Dad, why you got that bald spot in the back of your head? I said, well, it's from a scar. They said, no, this is different. And I got this little trusty pink mirror out one day, and I did like this so I could reflect it back in the mirror in front of me, and I about had a heart attack. I thought, what happened to my hair? It's thinning on the top. And then I just decided I'm growing through my hair. I'm not going bald, I'm just growing through it. But it's a reflection, but it gives an outside reflection. Proverbs 26:19 says, as in water face reflects face, so a man's heart reveals the man. Now you can look in a mirror every day and you can look at some people. You go up in the mirror and you will look and say, I look good today. I'm going to have a good day. I'm having a good hair day. I got my makeup on just right. Everything looks good. But yet, what about somebody that looks in the mirror and says, I don't look good today? Have you ever looked in the mirror and looked at yourself and you didn't like who you were looking at? You know, people can look fine on the outside and you think everything's great. And the reflection that they give is everything is good. But inside, they're dead. Inside, they don't have self-confidence. Inside, they have doubts and they have fears because of the reflection in the mirror. I see people every day in my job that I look and I think, man, they got it all together. And you'll start talking to them and you'll make a comment and you find out very quickly they don't have it all together. can't always go by the reflection in the mirror. How many's ever known somebody you think that has it all together and they take their own life? I've had numerous friends that have done that. You think they have it together. You think you look at somebody, you look at a couple and say, man, they're a great couple. And before you know it, they're divorced. You think, man, they got, and what always, you think, man, they've been married 30 years. Man, they got it together. The next thing you know, you look at the paper release, you'll say, so-and-so got divorced. I couldn't imagine divorcing my wife after 36 years. I could never find another one. Oh, she said I wouldn't have any money left either. Proverbs 26:19. As in water, face reflects face, so a man's heart reveals the man. Proverbs 26:19. Oh, come on. All right. You got the wrong Bible? All right, just a minute. Didn't I say 27:19? That was a test. It was a test. Proverbs 23:7 also says, for as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So when you get up in the morning and you look in your mirror, what do you think about the person that you're looking at? Because a lot of times as people, we spend time throwing darts and arrows at everybody else. And I think maybe sometimes we're doing that to get the attention off ourselves. But when you look at yourself in the mirror, do you like what you see? A lot of times I look in my mirror and I don't. Especially when I shave my goatee. And I discovered I had 2 chins. And I told Lisa I will never do that again, and I started growing it back the same day that I shaved it off, and I will never shave it again. Because I look like you sit there and look like a lizard. I will never do that again. What are you laughing about?
I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry.
Women from England.
Oh, okay.
But you know, there's people that look in the mirror every day that their hope is gone. There's people that look in the mirror that they think, I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to get through the day? How am I going to pay the bills that are due? How am I going to put food on the table for my kids? What wrong path did I take in the road? All this while looking in the mirror. What wrong path did I take that got me to here? What wrong decision did I make? What wrong people did I choose to surround myself with? You know, if you want to straighten your life around, you surround yourself with good people. Sometimes there has to be a separation from people you consider friends, because what they do is they drag you down. When I was in college, the guys that I ran, a good bunch of guys, but when I ran around with them, I drank and cussed like a sailor. When I was not around those guys, I was a totally different person. I did it because it was part of the crowd. It was part of being accepted. Stupidest thing I ever did. I would wake up the next morning with a hangover and think, why in the world, David, did you just do that? Why in the world did I do it? I did stuff when I was drunk that I never would have done sober. Never. Because you do that, your morals change, and everything changes, and everything's fair game. And that's why sometimes when you look in the mirror in the morning, you can look at that, and you can see right there, that was some bad choices and decisions I made. And unfortunately, there's prices to be paid for that. But we look in the mirror, we don't see hope. We look in the mirror, we're disgusted at what we see. We look at it and we say, what changes can I make? Why am I selfish? Why am I bitter? Why am I hateful? Why do I not like people? Why do I run people down? Why do I quit every job that I have? Why? We get where we just don't like who we see in the mirror. But that can change. You can change that. You can become a different person. Because in Romans 8:29, if I wrote it down right, for whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. Now what does a mirror reflect? An image, right? So if we're going to be conformed to the image of his Son, and Christ lives in us, what image should we be reflecting? So when we get up and we look in our mirror in the morning, and we look at that mirror and we think, I despise that person in the mirror, what should we see when we look in that mirror? We should see Christ, right? And what is in Christ? All hope, all victory, all deliverance, healing, power, deliverance, forgiveness, a need meter, one who will meet our needs, one who will help us not make bad decisions anymore. We ought to see Christ in there. When I get up and look and say, David, I don't like the person I'm looking at, then I need to see the Christ in me, because apparently I haven't got enough of him in me that I'm reflecting enough of him. Now, I can sit here and look at people here, and I'm not saying that everybody here doesn't reflect Christ, but there's some people that when I see them, I just see Christ on them. And one of them is Sister Breedlove, because she's always, except when she's sick, when she seems to get sick once every year around Christmas, she'll always say, I'm happy, happy, happy. And I see Christ in her. She's a person that if I need prayer, I would not hesitate to call her. And I know and she tells me she's going to pray, I know she's going to pray. And she'll pray till the cows come home, or till you tell her that I got the answer. Now, I have been known in the past, somebody will come up and say, pray for me, and I'll say, I sure will. And I've had them come up 2 weeks later and say, David, thank you for praying. God answered that prayer. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. And they walk off, and I feel this tall, and that mirror comes up, and David, you're worthless because I told him I would, and I never remembered it. And that makes you feel this tall. So what I have begun to do is when they say that, I will pray right then. And when I do it right then, you know what happens? I remember it.
Right.
I can drive by Enviro, and every time I drive by Enviro in my work truck, I always look to see if Matthew's car is there, but it brings to remembrance. I'll say, touch Dean in his job, touch Matthew in his job, touch Donald in his job, touch Christy in her illness, touch Wink, even though Wink's not out there anymore, touch Wink, touch his shoulders, touch his body, touch Tommy, help him. And I'll run through a whole list, and then I'll remember stuff that they asked prayer about at church. And it makes it that much easier for when I get up and look in the mirror the next day, then it's kind of like, I kind of like the guy that I see in the mirror.
Yeah.
But yet what we should be seeing in the reflection in the mirror as Christians, we're supposed to get filled up with Jesus. We're supposed to get the Word, and we're supposed to reflect Him to a world that's dying. And I will tell you that there's times when I look in my mirror, people would look at that, the reflection I see in the mirror, and they don't want that. Because I'm not offering what they should have. Because we're supposed to reach out to others. I've had a burden. Lisa and I will pray in the mornings. And I pray for, I always pray for James and I pray for Norma going through this. But I pray for Scotty because she is shouldering the load. Now she called her brother and said, you need to come home. And he's leaving Friday and driving home to help. But she's trying to take care of her dad. She's having to take care of her mom. It's affecting at work. She told me that day she said, I've used up all my vacation at work. And she has bills to pay. She's got Grayson that's still in school. Garrett was here, but he just flew back. And James is down because he's always cared for his family. And he told me when we went out visiting, he said, I can't even go outside and carry any firewood in for my wife. And he's just down. When you don't feel good for a long period of time, it works on you. You get where you don't feel like praying. You get where you don't feel like reading. You get where you feel like I don't want to talk to anybody. You get where you feel like I don't want to call anybody. It just wears you plumb smooth out. And that's why as a church, we've got to pick ourselves up and meet people's needs. In the church. Now, I don't know what you can always, James is on a restricted salt diet. So it's not like you can just say, we're going to make you food and take it to him, because they're trying to keep the fluid off his body. Scotty told me the other day they think some of this could be the result of his exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam.
Could be. Yes. Very much so.
She never had, I guess they told him that when she was up there. But here's a guy that he worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And I think sometimes he may get up and look at the mirror, look at himself in the mirror and think, I can't even provide for my family. But that's not who he is. Christ is the reflection that he ought to see, because Christ is his healer. Christ is his deliverer. Christ is his need meter. That's who he needs to see. Because that's who Christ is. That's a reflection that we ought to see, because that's who we need to reflect. Now sometimes James 1:22-25 says, be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man observing his natural face in a mirror, for he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what manner of man that he was. So we can be hearers all day long. So when you look in the mirror and you look at yourself, do you look at yourself as being a hearer of the word and a hearer only, or are you a hearer and a doer? Because if all you are is a hearer and you don't put action to it, you're like a man that looks at himself in the mirror and he turns and walks away and he forgets what he looks like. Now that's scripture. But then it goes on beyond that and it says that he who looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues in it, and is not a forgetful hearer but a doer of the work, this one will be blessed in what he does. So we have to be doers of the word. Now, let me ask you this. If you're looking in the mirror and you see Christ's reflection in the mirror, what characteristics should you be seeing? Huh? Love? What else? Grace? Mercy? I hear joy? How many people you know that don't have any joy? What do we base our joy off of? Circumstances? If everything's going good, we're happy. If things are going bad, we're unhappy. That's how the world judges it. I don't always have joy. I don't always like my job. My job does not give me joy, but it meets my needs. And I'm able to still go and do it. Slower, but I do it. What's some other characteristics? Compassion. Okay. What else? Sacrifice. Obedience. Forgiveness. Ooh, that's a big one. Anybody ever here look in the mirror and you've got unforgiveness in your heart? And not just from something yesterday, but something from years ago? That it's been so long you can't even remember what you're mad about, but you're still hurt mad at somebody and you can't remember what it was? Time to get a grip. What else? No, this audience participation. What'd you say, Andy? Serving. Being a servant. What else? Strength. Peace. Intercessor. What else? Redeemer. Come on, name some.
Healer.
Savior. Now, all these things that you've heard, do they sound good?
Yes.
They are good, right?
Yes.
Can we do those?
Yes.
Why can we do them?
As long as you got faith.
Faith, we have God in us, right?
Yes.
Because when He comes in us, He said, "You are not your own, but you're bought with a price." So why don't we do those things? If we don't do them, why not? Because if we're a hearer of the Word, we have to be a doer of the Word. So if you're going to be compassionate, what do you got to do? Have compassion. You got to do what? You got to put other people first. Now, if you get down to the real nuts and bolts of everything, that sums it up right there.
Right.
We won't put others first. We want ours first, and then what's left over we'll give. We want ours first. I never saw Jesus anywhere in the Scripture wanting His first. Not my will, but yours be done. Never too tired to minister. Yeah. It's not about me. It's all about Him. I'll be the first one to admit that I look in the mirror and I'm not always compassionate. I'll be the first one to admit I'm not always giving. I mean, but no. Sometimes you say, don't they just get a job? Just, it's kind of like bad when I first got saved and started going to church. They talk about tithing. I didn't know what tithing was, and I punched Lisa and said, "What's tithing?" That's where you give 10% of what you make to God, and it goes to the pastor. I said, "What?" I said, "Let him get a job." I didn't know. I said, "Let him get a job." And after a few years in this, I think, it don't pay enough. It don't. You know, a pastor not only carries his own problems, that heaven forbid that a pastor have problems and show his human side, but he's got to carry everybody else's and be strong for everybody else. But if he has a need, we're nowhere to be found.
Amen.
Now, I'm not saying that I do this all the time, and it's not because I try where my shortcomings are that I see failing when I look in the mirror. I try to correct them. So I called him after a few days, after Rick, and I just called him and I said, "How are you doing?"
That's right. Yes.
He said, "I'm doing okay." And I said, "I just want to make sure because he's trying to help April. He's trying to go through that. They were close. He's hurting, just like everybody else is." That wasn't good. And so I simply just called and I said, "How are you?" And he said, "I'm good." I probably called him after his dad passed away after a while. I said, "How you doing?" Just to check. I try to do that with other people that's in the area that I slack in. I told Lisa since we got back from vacation, everything is still out of whack. Nothing has lined back up yet. I got back, I got sick while I was in Europe. I got an earache. I'm 61 years old. I have never had an earache. I don't ever want another one. I don't want to experience coming down from 29,000 feet to land in Oklahoma City, almost wanting to just, I told Lisa, I said, "I got to do something with my ear. I got to get on the ground." I thought my ear, then I couldn't hear for a day. We went and ate. I couldn't tell you what the conversation was. They could have talked about me the whole time, which is no different than normal. But I could not hear what they were saying at all. And I still can't hear it. And today it was hurting in this ear. So the guy I looked at in the mirror today didn't look real good. But yet, when we have Christ reflecting in us, that is not only what we need to see ourselves, but that's what everybody in the church needs to see. Well, David, you just can't do that every day. It's just not possible. Do you think Christ did it every day? He did it every day, didn't he? Every day, till the day that they hung him on the cross. He did it every day. I never saw anywhere in the Bible where he complained about it. I never saw anywhere. It always said he had compassion on them. I never, anywhere did I ever see where he complained. Does anybody here, within the sound of my voice, ever complain? By a raising of the hands. Okay, thank you for you honest people. Yeah, Heike's got both of them. She put her feet up there so she wouldn't fall out of the pew. I try to, I'm a long way from perfect. But when I look in the mirror, I like the guy that I see in the mirror a little bit better than the guy I saw yesterday.
Amen.
Because I try to make changes. I try not to be bitter at anybody. If I feel like I have, it's like Brother Turner used to say, if he ever started seeing faults in others, then he better pray because he's not where he's supposed to be with God. I try not to be bitter because Christ was not bitter. I try to treat everybody fairly. I've had people that'll walk past me and won't talk, won't shake their hand, anything, but I will still walk up to them and shake their hand. Now, the bad part is the guy in the mirror. When I don't like the guy in the mirror, I'll do it just to make them shake my hand. Does anybody else ever do that? Huh? Have you ever chased them down and make them shake your hand?
Yes. Yes.
Is that the wrong attitude to have? But I'm human.
Even tackle them.
That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it right. I've seen people not only turn from me, I've seen them turn from other people, and they'll turn 3 aisles back and go down the aisle and look like they're talking to somebody else because they made eye contact. I ain't going down that aisle. They'll look like, oh, our sister Lisa, it's so good to have you back. I've seen it in church. And they get more specific in this church. But you know what? It happens in other churches too. But yet if we're reflecting Christ, we shouldn't have it in that. Let me ask this. People say stuff that hurts our feelings.
Yes.
And we get mad and we hold it against them.
Yes.
What about when Christ was hanging on the cross and they mocked and ridiculed him and said, if you be the Son of God, get yourself down off that cross. Prove that you're the Son of God. What did he do? Where's that? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So, did he hold unforgiveness in his heart? Then why do we? And you say, well, he don't understand. Yeah, he does. I mean, what if somebody come up and grabbed a hold of me and pulled a hair out of my goatee? Do you think that would make me mad?
Yeah.
Do you think it would hurt?
Yeah.
Do you think that I would want Lisa to whoop him?
Yeah.
She's Taekwondo. And what she can't take care of, I'll get Mark to take care of the other part. He's a soldier. And I got a Marine sitting over here. Semper Fi, bro, Semper Fi. But yet Christ forgave. Why do we hang on to it? Why do we look in the mirror and we see the unforgiveness in our life? Because unforgiveness destroys you.
That's right.
Unforgiveness makes you bitter. Unforgiveness doesn't let you sleep at night. It makes you angry at everybody. It makes you unlovable. I still remember several years back, somebody come in one night, a visitor one night, and somebody in our church went up and told him, you're in my seat, you need to move. Those people left and they never came back. I wanted to hog slap that person's heart. Just one good hog slap. Just whack. Why would you tell somebody that? If they sit on my pew, I'll go sit where I'd have to go back because I sit on the front. You ever notice you don't ever have to fight for the front pew? It's always open. Mike has got that side covered. We got this side. The middle is wide open. Jeff may spit, but it's all right. It's holy spit. So I say all that to say this. When you look in the mirror, when you go home or you get up and you look in the mirror tomorrow, and if you don't exactly like the person that you see, then make a change. Now, I'm going to say this about hiking. I'm not saying this to embarrass her. I'm not. She come up one day, and I can't remember what all the deal was, but she said, it's the new me. And the thing about it is, and she said that, when she says that, I become an observer. Little did she know that it draws my attention to watch. And I will say this about her, I have noticed a change.
Amen.
And I have. Yeah, you want to look in the mirror? like what you see? Because she said that I have to make changes. She said, it's the new me. Now I have seen some things that have come against her that the old Heike would have probably blown up. But I've noticed some stuff that's gone, and she has not blown up. So she's making an effort and a change because she realized that she had to. Is that a true statement? Okay. So if Heike can do it, and I don't mean that bad, if Heike can do it, why can't we? It just takes effort. It just takes effort. It takes making effort. Buster can do it. What can I do? Can't you, Buster? Sister Phyllis can do it. Stella, I admire you more and more every day. I think, what a woman that has stuck it out with Buster. I see Christ all over Stella. I mean, she's got Shekinah glory coming out. It's like, woo, I feel Jesus on Stella. I tell Buster every once in a while, we go up and sing, but then he quit going up for a while because I think it made him mad. I'd go up, stand by him and say, Buster, I just come up here to make you look good. And then he didn't come up for several services, and I thought, hey, Buster, did you get mad or what? I didn't want to sing. I have to learn where I can throw my lines in and say stuff. But if Heike can make a change, we can all make a change.
Yes.
When you see somebody like Scotty and what she's going through, go up and let her know that you're praying for her. Let April know that we're praying. Let Pastor know that we're praying. Call him and ask him how he's doing. Brother Turner told me one time, I used to would walk by his house, I'd stop at his house and I'd go up because I had a question or there was something I had to ask him about. And one day I walked up and I used to always just bang on the door real loud and give him a heart attack and walk in. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I just come to see what you're doing and find out what's up. And he said, what a relief. He said, normally when somebody came in his gate and to his door, they had a problem. And he said, for somebody to just come into my door, even though it was me making noise and banging the door, he said, it is nice to just come in and you're not having to deal with somebody's problems. Because Brother Turner, he wanted to be just like anybody else. He's a pastor like anybody else. Pastor Jeff is a person just like me and you. He puts his, well, in his case, he puts his shorts on like everybody else, because I don't think he ever wears pants, even unless it's 25 below zero. But he is no different than anybody else. His reflection, he'll show that he's got it all together because he does that for us. But there's times that he's got it hard. So call him and let him know, hey, I appreciate it. How are you doing? That's all it takes. But we can make a change. And when we make a change and we begin to reflect Christ and the characteristics of Christ, you know what happens? People see what we got and they want what we got. Not look at you and say, I don't want what they got. I got enough of that at home. I don't need those problems. I don't need the old hiker. I like the new hiker. She's going to go on a remnant trip. I'm going to give her fits. I'm going to test you out, girl, and see if you got it. But anyway, but just remember, We're supposed to reflect Christ. I don't so much mind what I see when I look in the mirror. But there was a time, just a while back, I didn't like who I saw. Because you can get lost in your mess. And I didn't like who I saw. And because I didn't like who I saw, I had to do something about it. And some people look in the mirror and they think I'm ugly. No, you're not. You're beautiful because the Christ that lives in you is beautiful. And you think, I just have to lose a bunch of weight. I just and lose weight. That doesn't mean Christ doesn't love you. It just means, and I will tell you, it ain't easy. My poor wife, she didn't want to lose much, and she struggles with that. And I quit eating donuts for 3 days, and I'll drop 5 pounds. And she just has fits. I said, I'm sorry, I'm a guy. Guys lose weight easier than women. They just do. I don't know why. But we can be what we need to be. We can change. Change your reflection. Get the reflection of Christ. And then you will be happy. Then people come up and say, you're kind of glowing today. Why? Let me tell you about somebody that helps me glow. His name is Jesus. And he's changed my life and he's changed my life. Let's all stand to our feet.